Merry Christmas month, everyone!
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
You know what I love the most about this time of year? Well, yes, but also that there's no shortage of great Christmas episodes to review. Every year, there's at least one great new Christmas special shot out, because this is the holiday people want to capture the best. And it's always fun to pour out all the holiday cheer you have into something amazing. Not necessarily animated episodes or anything, but anything you hold dear to you. Whether it's a gift for a loved one, a Christmas feast for your family, or, in my case, a review of some great Christmas episodes. So this year, I decided to review the Loud House Christmas special, 11 Louds a Leaping. Even though this special is only a year old, it's quickly being considered a Nickelodeon Christmas classic. But what makes it such a good episode? Well, let's take a look at it. The episode opens on Christmas Eve in the Loud House, and Lincoln shows how his family prepares for Christmas. Luna writes Christmas songs for the Loud family, Luann makes a bunch of Christmas-related puns she calls the 12 Puns of Christmas, Lori is passive-aggressively pressuring Bobby to find the best gift for their first Christmas as a couple, Lola is trying to work in enough niceness to make up for all her naughties. Wow, that sounded really wrong. Lana is trying to catch a reindeer, and Lenny, whose name I completely butchered in my tricked review and am so sorry for doing, is making Christmas outfits out of whatever the hell she can get her hands on. Also, I love the opening visual jokes, like the sugar plums dancing in Charles's head, Walt hitting on an ornament, and the fireplace. I think they're all very humorous. But there's also quite a few visual gags that I didn't even notice the first time around. Like whenever Luann makes a pun, for example. A number appears to count them, but each time it appears, the pun she makes appears with it. That's actually pretty subtle. But honestly, not all jokes hit bullseyes. There's this little side joke with Lori where she's obsessed with opening gifts. Like, it's basically a sickness for her. So Luann tells her that she's got to fight her obsession, which Lori agrees to do. But then, she gets a ginormous present delivered to her.
To Lori, open immediately. Ah! Universe, you are literally testing me.
Yeah, it's Bobby. Honestly, I hope that wasn't meant to be a surprise, because really, what else could it possibly have been? That joke honestly just feels like a bit of a time filler, but honestly, that's one of the only problems I have with this special, and it's not even a major flaw in the slightest. Anyway, as the Louds are preparing for Christmas, their neighbor, Mr. Grouse, starts complaining about everything they're doing. And for the record, I thoroughly enjoy Mr. Grouse. Even though he's a grumpy old man, he still manages to make me laugh a lot. Though that could very easily be because he's voiced by John DiMaggio, who also voiced Bender from Futurama and voices Jake from Adventure Time.
Take down that eyesore! You're bringing down the property values!
Anyway, Lincoln goes outside to sled, but he manages to launch his sled into Mr. Grouse's yard. And he reveals that whenever something goes into Mr. Grouse's yard, it never comes back. So he calls up Clyde, and the two of them devise a plan to get the sled back, with Clyde singing Christmas carols outside Mr. Grouse's yard to distract him, while Lincoln sneaks around back. And I want to point this out because I didn't mention this in my tricked review, but Clyde is a lot funnier than he needs to be. A lot of scenes with him have a lot of quotable lines, and I love how fast-paced they're delivered.
And also think of a shorter name for this operation. Into action! Sorry, I got stuck in a turtleneck. Can you repeat that? Never mind, I'm on my way. Ugh!
That was like a 5-second scene, and it managed to get 4 separate laughs out of me the first time I saw it. And when Clyde is singing Christmas carols, Mr. Grouse's reaction just adds to the already existing comedy there.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh.
Stop your off-key caterwauling! I don't care for carolers!
Off-key caterwauling. Now that's a quotable line if ever I've heard one. In fact, I actually had to look up what caterwauling is. The Loud House made me learn something. Well, Lincoln accidentally grabs Mr. Grouse's attention, causing him to find Lincoln's sled and take it inside with him.
My yard, my property!
Lincoln sneaks inside Mr. Grouse's house with Clyde as his lookout. But Clyde ends up getting launched away by one of Lana's reindeer traps.
Yes! My reindeer
correct. Although, it might not be the best way to catch a reindeer.
Yeah, that is kind of a forced joke, but it does actually serve a purpose because without a lookout, Lincoln gets caught by Mr. Grouse and breaks his sled. And since Lincoln broke in, Mr. Grouse has him clean up the mess he made. But Mr. Grouse's sister calls him, and Mr. Grouse tells her he won't be able to see her or the family for Christmas, since he can't afford it. And Lincoln realizes that Mr. Grouse comes from a big family as well. And not only that, when Mr. Grouse was a boy, he had an older model of the sled that Lincoln had, which will play a really big role near the end. Lincoln explains Mr. Grouse's situation to his sisters, which causes all of them to look at Mr. Grouse in a different light, since they all know how sad they would be if they never got to see their family for Christmas either. And all of them realize that they spent all of Christmas Eve focused on themselves, and this sudden realization gives Luna, who's been having issues with her yearly song, new inspiration, and boy does it create something really special.
It's not what you get, it's what you give. We got the spirit clear and loud. Ditch the list, hug who you're with, 'cause that's what Christmas is all about.
God, I love this song. This might be one of Nickelodeon's best Christmas songs. Yeah, it's right up there with the SpongeBob Christmas songs in my opinion. Every single time I hear this song, I just get all warm and fuzzy inside. And the sight of all these characters coming together to cheer up this grouchy old man, it just adds so much to it. Even though the song is short and simplistic, it still managed to squeeze every bit of Christmas cheer it could get. And I think that's what makes it stick out so much. Lincoln presents Mr. Grouse with a gift from him and his family, a bus pass so he can see his family for Christmas. Aw, that's nice. Even though it's a one-way. I guess he'll just hitchhike back. Also, for the first time in this show's history, the parents revealed their faces. And I personally think this was the Loud House staff's little Christmas gift to the fans. Mr. Grouse tells them that they've made his Christmas the best one yet and invites them all inside. And he apologizes to everyone for how bitter he's been and returns all the stuff he's taken from them. So, in a nice symbolic way, because everyone gave Mr. Grouse the best Christmas ever, with no real thoughts of themselves, they end up actually getting everything they wanted. Hell, even Clyde, who has a massive crush on Lori, gets a kiss from her under the mistletoe.
Merry Christmas, Clyde.
And to all a good night.
You know, I'm actually more impressed he didn't get a nosebleed from that. Well, on Christmas morning, everyone opens their gifts, and Lisa reveals that she saw Santa leaving a gift behind the couch, which turns out to be for Lincoln. And really, none of you noticed it was there until Lisa showed you a fat man's ass? Luann, you were standing right there. How did you not see it? And it turns out that the gift was the very same sled Mr. Grouse had when he was a kid.
Hey, Mr. Grouse, thanks for the sled.
Don't thank me. Thanks, Santa. Merry Christmas, Lincoln.
Well, I guess all's well that ends well. Lincoln gets his sled back, Mr. Grouse gets to see his family, and they all live happily ever.
Loud!
Well, almost happily ever after.
Well, I guess that about wraps things up.
Overall, this special is great. I don't think I'd call it better than Arnold's Christmas or Christmas Who, but at the same time, I don't think that's a fair comparison because those episodes have a nostalgic value to me. But this episode, I could see many kids from this generation looking back on and feeling the same nostalgia I feel for those episodes. Also, one trend I have noticed about Christmas specials, specifically Nickelodeon, is that they always need to find some way to work in that it's better to give than receive message. Which, I know I've praised a lot, but I could see how eventually it could become overused. However, even here, I still think it's executed in a pretty unique way that keeps it feeling pretty fresh. One thing I've noticed about the Loud House is even if they use plot points that have been done a number of times already, they still find a way to put their spin on it, and that's probably the biggest trait that shows how great a show actually is. I don't think it's a stretch to say that The Loud House is currently Nickelodeon's best show airing today, and it's specials like this that highlight all the reasons for that.
Merry Christmas from the Loud House.
Well guys, thank you so much for watching my first Christmas special of the year. I have one more to come that I hope to get out on Christmas, but which one is it? Well, you'll find out soon. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.